Detective, I already told you I wasn't even there. I don't know how it happened. The boy leaned back in the hard interrogation chair, his arms folded with defiance. His name was Alex Parker, just 16 years old, and already suspected of murdering the one person he had once called his best friend. He thought he was smarter than the detectives across from him. He thought that if he stuck to his story, no one would be able to prove otherwise. But Alex was wrong. Within minutes, a single careless sentence would betray him. A sentence that revealed something only the killer could have known. Ethan Miller was the victim. Also 16, bright, athletic, and the kind of boy who lit up every room he walked into. He and Alex had been inseparable since childhood. The two of them grew up on the same street, rode bikes together, stayed up late talking about their futures, and shared dreams bigger than their small town. Everyone who knew them saw them as brothers. Teachers even joked about it, calling them the duo. But like many close friendships, there were cracks that outsiders couldn't see. Arguments, jealousy, competition over sports and girls, and teenage pride began to slowly eat away at their bond. To most people, it was harmless bickering. But for Alex, those cracks became something much darker. On a warm Friday afternoon in late spring, Alex and Ethan left school together, walking down the wooded trail that ran behind the neighborhood park. To anyone passing by, it looked like an ordinary day, two friends heading home like always. But by nightfall, only one of them would return. Hours later, when Ethan never showed up for dinner, his parents grew anxious. They called his phone, but there was no answer. They reached out to Alex, who casually said, "I don't know. Maybe he went somewhere else." By midnight, panic had turned to dread. Police were called, and a search party was formed. At dawn, the truth was uncovered. Ethan's body was found in the woods, beaten and stabbed in a frenzy of violence. This wasn't a random attack. There were no signs of robbery, no sign of a stranger lurking in the shadows. The rage and the crime told detectives everything they needed to know. This was personal, and the last person seen with Ethan was Alex Parker. Detectives brought Alex in the very next morning. At first, he tried to play the grieving best friend, shaking his head and pretending to be heartbroken. "I can't believe he's gone," he said. "We were just walking together, and then he said he had somewhere else to go." His voice was steady, almost convincing. But detectives weren't fooled. His story didn't add up. If Ethan left to go somewhere else, where did he go? Why had no one seen him? Why did Alex's shoes carry the same mud that matched the crime scene? Why did his hands bear fresh bruises? Still, Alex stayed calm. He was young, but he carried himself with arrogance, convinced he was clever enough to talk circles around experienced investigators. What Alex didn't realize was that the detectives were already tightening the noose. They just needed him to slip. In the interrogation room, Detective Harris leaned forward across the table and asked the first pointed question. "Alex, we know you and Ethan argued. Witnesses heard shouting before you both walked into those woods. What was it about?" Alex shrugged. "We argue all the time. Doesn't mean I killed him. People fight." Harris pressed. "Sure, but Ethan didn't walk out of those woods alive. And you did." Alex's eyes narrowed. His voice sharpened. "I didn't do anything to him. Whoever stabbed him, that wasn't me." The room went silent. The detective froze on the word. Stabbed. That detail had never been released to the public. Not to the media, not to Ethan's family, not to anyone outside the investigation. Only the killer could have known it. And Alex had just said it aloud. Harris leaned in, his voice colder now. "Alex, how did you know Ethan was stabbed?" For the first time, Alex's composure cracked. His eyes widened. His breathing quickened. He tried to recover. I heard people talking. Someone must have said it." But detectives knew there was no someone. No leaks, no whispers, no rumors. Just the truth, slipping from the mouth of the boy who killed his best friend. From that moment on, the balance of power shifted. Alex was no longer in control of the conversation. The detectives were. They began to press harder, circling him like wolves around their prey. "Alex, you were his best friend. You got angry. You lost control. Tell us what happened." For hours, Alex resisted. He denied. He cursed. He demanded to go home. He even tried crying. But the mask had cracked, and slowly, the truth began to spill out. Through tears and anger, he admitted what happened. They had argued about everything: jealousy, girls, who was better at sports, who was more popular. Ethan pushed him, he claimed. Alex said he snapped. In a blind fury, he struck his best friend, beating him until the rage gave way to a knife. His words chilled the room. This was no hardened career criminal. This was a teenager who had crossed the line from boyhood into something far darker, something irreversible. When Alex Parker was arrested and charged with murder, the town was stunned. Two boys who had once been inseparable had ended in tragedy. One dead, the other in handcuffs. The trial that followed was heartbreaking. Ethan's parents sat in the front row, weeping as they listened to prosecutors describe how their son was betrayed by the person he trusted most. Alex, just 16, sat stone-faced at the defense table, his arrogance now replaced with the grim realization of what his future held. The jury did not take long. They found him guilty of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to 30 years in prison. 30 years for a boy who thought he could lie his way out of justice. Alex Parker's story is one of arrogance meeting reality. He thought he was smarter than detectives, smarter than the system, smarter than the truth itself. But all it took was one slip of the tongue, one careless word, to unravel his entire story. Justice was served, but at an unbearable cost. One young life was stolen, another was thrown away. And the lesson is hauntingly clear. No lie, no excuse, no manipulation can silence the truth forever. Because eventually, the truth always finds its voice, even if it comes from the guilty themselves.